Hi folks, it's me, Happy Halloween, Debate Brother, #1. I'm here to tell you that we haven't been making any videos because, long story short, a lot of things have happened. We had our great aunt passed away, and then we were helping some other family out with a few other things, moving furniture. We're trying to clean out our garage. And for my video collection that I did before, I've done a lot of, reorganizing. I've reorganized everything. I've gotten rid of a bunch of stuff that I didn't really need, stuff that I wasted my time on, stuff that my brother already had. So I'm a little short on that. So there's some things I intend to get. So the newest video on my video collection will not be out until this December. So since it's Halloween, the day where everybody dresses up in cool, funny, creepy costumes, I'm paying tribute to a couple of films I picked from my horror movie collection to tell you my personal favorite. My favorite vampire, zombie, werewolf, stuff like that. Anyway, let's get started. Now, the first one I'm going to show you is my favorite horror comedy, where you spoof a horror movie or spoof certain things. I didn't know which one to choose at first. I was conflicted whether Shaun of the Dead or Ernest Scared Stupid, which is a good funny movie to watch on Halloween because it takes place on Halloween, or the scary movies where they spoof so many, but I happened to pick Tucker and Dale versus Evil, starring Tyler Labine and Alan Tudyk and Christina Bowden. The movie is amazing. The story is pretty funny too. Two hillbillies named Tucker and Dale, go into the woods to renovate their new cabin. But unfortunately, they meet a group of not-so-bright college kids, which one of the girls end up with them, and her friends think they kidnapped her. So they try to get her back, and all this crazy stuff happens. Boy, so many of the most craziest accidents that have ever been put on film. The film does a pretty good job at paying tribute to the famous slasher films like Friday the 13th, The Burning, and a few others. This film does a great job. Although there's no psychotic killer in this, but it does a lot of great camera movements to make you look like you're seeing a slasher film. I won't tell you much more, but the cabin looks so amazing, the sets are great, the acting is up to par. There's some quirky acting, but other than this movie is gold and a great comedy. The comedy kind of wears thin near the end of the film, but other than that, watch the special features of the deleted scenes and bloopers. Boy, those bloopers are really funny, especially with the pickled eggs. Anyway, let's move on. Now, a slasher film. There's a lot of great slashers out there. Wes Craven's Scream, Ghostface, John Carpenter's Halloween, Michael Myers, and many others. But I happen to pick my personal favorite. Tobe Hooper's Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the chainsaw-wielding Leatherface. This film is loosely based on the true story of Ed Gein, who inspired both Norman Bates of Psycho and this one, and Buffalo Bill of Silence of the Lambs. The film story is this girl and her brother and their friends go on a road trip, end up stopping at their old grandfather's house, which happens to be really close to a house of psychotic cannibals. One by one, the teens are picked off until only one is left. This movie has also the longest chase I've ever seen in any slasher movie. Also, the decor is amazing. They're filmed in an old abandoned house which happened to actually belong to a real serial killer. And also, a friend of mine got to meet Gunnar Hansen himself, who played Leatherface. She said he was the sweetest man you'd ever meet. And Gunnar Hansen would return to the Chainsaw franchise one last time in 2013's Chainsaw 3D. This film is not for the faint of heart. You have to have a strong stomach also to watch this, despite not being a gore fest. You will find yourself grossed out. Believe me. I was kind of grossed out when I saw one of the more horrendous scenes. But I didn't throw up. But still, this is a great film to watch for a masked killer on Halloween. Now, for werewolves. I was conflicted. What kind of werewolf film is the best to me? Well, there was John Landis's American Werewolf in London. And that was a good one. And the original Universal werewolf movie, The Wolfman, starring Lon Chaney. But I happened to pick Joe Dante's The Howling. This movie is loosely based on a book of the same name But the premise is basically the same in the book and the novel. A girl goes to this campsite resort for medical business, hoping to help her with her amnesia that she suffered. But she starts suspecting a werewolf is around. And she is proven right, especially when her friends and husband are starting to get picked off or turned into werewolves. This movie is amazing. The makeup is amazing. The puppet work, the effects, the suits, and the sets are amazing. It's got a great cast such as John Carradine, Dick Miller, Dean Wallace, Slim Pickens, and a few others. And also, some of the stuff that was in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre props would end up in this movie. You'd see, if you watch the movie, you'll see the props in the store where they meet Dick Miller. Anyway, this movie is amazing. I highly recommend it if you like a howling good time. Now, for a ghost movie. Ghosts are a pretty scary thing. Something that comes back from the dead to haunt you or do something. I couldn't decide almost which ghost movie to do. Was it Poltergeist or was it Ghost Ship? But I happened to pick one of my favorite ghost movies. Starring Jamie Lee Curtis herself, the Scream Queen, and the original Scream Queen, her mother, Janet Leigh. John Carpenter's The Fog. This movie is amazing. It's got the most fog I've ever seen in any horror movie, too. This town is all amazing, shot on actual locations somewhere in California. I can't remember where. The story is a ship was sunk hundreds of years ago by the greedy town founders, and their fortune was stolen. And the ghosts have come back on the 100th anniversary of the town to get their revenge. These ghosts look more like zombies, though, but they can disappear and reappear in the fog, which makes it really creepy. Boy, this movie had me kind of psyched. Who will live, who will die? John Carpenter really did a great job. He wrote it as well. He is an expert at making these horror movies. And I never got to pay a trip to this place because it's in California and I live in Tennessee, but I intend to visit some horror movie locations one day. Now, for zombies. My favorite zombie movie I had to pick. It was hard. Was it Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, Land of the Dead? But I happened to pick George Romero's remake of Night of the Living Dead of 1990. Of course, Tom Savini directed this one. And he does a very good job. He makes it fresh and new. And what he does with Barbara, who's the leading lady of the original movie too, he doesn't make her a wimp or a loser. He makes her start off a little like that, but she changes very quickly into a woman who's bent on survival. The makeup is amazing because he does a lot of the makeup with his team on this too. And they're all shot in Pittsburgh, and I almost went to go visit the house when I went to visit Gettysburg. But me and my mom and my brother chose not to visit. We could have even visited the mall from Dawn of the Dead, but we didn't do that either. Oh well, this film is amazing. Some of the original cast from... No, not cast. Crew members of the original film makes a cameo in the film, like Russ Strider, who played the original Johnny. He's in this movie too. Tony Todd plays Ben, and he's amazing too. He almost has a resemblance and personality to the original. This movie had a lot more gory scenes, but they were cut. But this film still is a great remake. One of the best, to me. Now, for vampires. There was a lot of great vampire movies out there, and I definitely love Bela Lugosi and Christopher Lee as Dracula. Those are some of the best vampire movies, but I happen to pick one that kind of makes me see something about myself. Fright Night. The story of a young teenager who believes his next-door neighbor is a vampire, but nobody believes him because he loves horror movies. And I'm a big horror movie lover too. Even as a child, I went to the horror movie aisles at the local video store when I was a kid to look at all the covers. So how would I feel if I knew something was wrong, like if we had a monster or a murderer next door and nobody didn't believe me because of my love for horror films? This movie is amazing. It pays tribute to all the classic monster movies, and it looks forward to some modern ones too. Roddy McDowall is great in this film. He's amazing. And also our main vampire villain named Jerry, played by Chris Sarandon. Chris Sarandon. He would also appear in Child's Play as our hero cop, the original movie. Anyway, this vampire is one mean yet charming villain. He's not unreasonable either. My favorite scene is where he tries to make a deal with our hero. And, well, you can expect how it goes. This movie is great. The effects are amazing. The acting is gold. There's some good comedy into it. I gotta say, I love this movie. When I first saw this, I was blown away. This is definitely a movie to watch if you love a monster movie. And finally, what we call the crossover movies, where there's multiple monsters all crossed in together. There's like House of Frankenstein, House of Dracula, Van Helsing, and Abbott and Costello meets the monsters. But I happen to pick my favorite of them all, The Monster Squad, directed by Fred Dekker. This movie is amazing. It's just like Fright Night a little bit. These kids who love monster movies end up finding out that Dracula is real with the other monsters. And they have to stop Dracula's evil plot from blotting out the sun forever and plunging the world into eternal darkness so he can walk freely about the earth. The kids meet the Frankenstein monster, the Wolfman, the Gillman, and the Mummy. There's a lot of funny moments too, and cute moments. I love this movie. The kids get some help from a Jewish Holocaust survivor who knows some things about this horrible problem they're facing. And this film, it should have made it into a TV series so the kids could fight other monsters. But anyway, this film is a funny, family, good movie. And has one of the best lines since It's Alive. Wolfman's got nards when one of them kicks him in the nards, and the nards is the crotch. Anyway, the effects are amazing. The makeup is well done. The acting is great. The music is good. It's got a great creepy atmosphere. Great sets, great puppet work. This movie is definitely for a family film to watch on a Halloween night. So anyway, folks, that's it. That's my favorite pick. I didn't pick any animal killer movies like shark movies, alligators, or anything like that, but these things that are more tribute to real horror and the spirit of Halloween. So, there you have it. That's my top favorites. And be looking forward to newer videos, and even about my movie collection too. We'll get to that in December. So, look forward to our newest videos on restaurants and movie reviews. We'll be doing that real soon. So in the meantime, happy Halloween, and have a ghoul of a time out there.